I remember Christmas 1999. We were all so happy. I miss you so very much. With great love, the smallest distance is too great, and the greatest distance can always be bridged. Hey everybody, thank you so much for coming back and seeing me and Desi today. I hope you had a good, fun Christmas week. And there's a couple things I want to do today, and it's all because of some of the things that you have written me about. But last year, I did a video on being alone on Christmas, and I threw out a few sentences about having distant children or being estranged from a family member or a child. And your response was so incredible, and it touched my heart to no end. And I always wanted to talk about estrangement, and yet the time just wasn't right. But I feel like the time is right now, Christmas time. But I want to share with you how my mom and I worked through it. And it wasn't easy. And I'm hoping that you will find something in my story about estrangement that maybe you could use in your own life. It's not easy to talk about being estranged from a family member or a friend or a coworker. It's not easy. There's so much shame involved in it, or guilt, or confusion. We don't talk about it. Love finds a way. It's not easy for us to cut somebody out of our life. That's not our nature. And especially for women, we're always trying to make things right. We make excuses for people. We give endless chances. And yes, love does find a way, but the love that we have for ourselves has to come first. There was a relationship that I had years ago. It lasted 2 years, and this person that I lived with, I was afraid of. They were not what I consider a good human being. And when we broke up, it took every ounce of strength I had to walk away from this relationship, because it was abusive, and it seemed like the abuse made me more drawn to this person. I wanted this person's approval that I would never get, of course. So we break up. So 6 months later, 7 months later, he calls me and he wants to have lunch. And every single person that I have loved in my life, I have continued loving them. I've continued to be friends with them. I've continued to have a wonderful, corny lunch and truly enjoy listening to what's going on in their life. But not this person. This person I will never talk to. This person can never know what I'm doing. I don't want him to ever hear my voice again. I do not want this person anywhere near my life. And it's not like I get up in the morning and check the obituaries, to see if his name is in there. Do I? Okay, maybe I do. Well, not every day. It made me feel strong. And it made me realize how much I love myself, that I will not allow a person who did so much damage to my body and to my mind and my soul. I will not allow this person to be in my life. I wish him well. I hope he's very happy in whatever hideous little thing he's doing in his life. But I am so happy. And I think when you take back your power from someone who has treated you so badly, it's a wonderful thing. So that's what I call the good estrangement. It's not one you really truly have to work through. You just have to work kind of wiping the smile off your face. Before I go any further, I want you to know that I loved my mom and my mom loved me. And we had a very dramatic, complicated relationship. It was after I was 10 years old, it was just me and my mom against the world. So there was a lot of drama. And I'm not telling tales out of school. I really am not. If my mother was alive, she'd be sitting right here. I want to take it back to 1985. And I am working a full-time job. I'm raising a son, and I'm in a rock band. So I got a lot on my plate. And my mom didn't drive. And a couple times a month, I would take her out to the jazz clubs. She loved jazz. You know, she was a professional singer. And she was a wonderful singer, you know, a pretty famous singer in our area here in Michigan. So I'd pick her up and we'd go out to the club and she'd have such a wonderful time. She led such an isolated life, but that one night she could be at the club hearing music with her daughter, that meant everything to her. So this one Thursday night, I'll never forget it. I'm supposed to pick her up at 7 o'clock, right? I get home at 6 o'clock. I'm too tired. I call her up and say, Mom, I can't make it tonight. She gasped. I said, well, Mom, you can take a cab. And so is playing and you have a wonderful time. She got so mad. She got more upset than I had ever seen her in my entire life. You would have thought I shot her dog. I mean, she went on and on and on and on. She started to call me names. That was not my mom. She was hysterical. Now, of course, I'm getting defensive, right? I'm tired. I worked a long day. And I blurt out, well, Mom, you're making me feel like I'm just your chauffeur. Okay, that did not make it better. It made it worse. And she said to me, never call me again. Do not come over. That estrangement lasted for 4 long months. And when I think about it, why was my mother so angry at just me not being able to get her to that club that night? She could have taken a cab. She had a couple friends that probably could have taken her. Why was she so angry, and why was I so angry back? She was living this life on stage with beautiful dresses and beautiful jewelry. People adored her. And she did that for years until she got pregnant with me. And that stopped everything. She married a man she didn't love so she could keep me and I wouldn't be born out of wedlock. She gave up everything to have me and to raise me. I see that now, but at the time I couldn't figure out, why is she so mad? That's why she was so mad. And why was I so mad? I was so mad because she was asking me to do something for her, and I felt she had let me down so many times when I was growing up. I just wanted her to admit that I was a good daughter. She couldn't do that. Mom could never admit that she wasn't a great mother. She could never admit that she ever did anything wrong, and she did lots of things wrong. Estrangements are about not understanding what the other person is asking you to do. I could not understand why my mother resented me. I could not understand why me not picking her up and taking her to that music club was such a sin. But I understand now. And my mother could not understand why I didn't have her on a pedestal and think that she was a great mother, because look at everything she sacrificed for me. But that isn't enough for a little girl. A little girl doesn't know anything about being a singer in a jazz club and sacrificing. All she knows is that her mother is mad at her most of the time. Well, fast forward to when I'm 50 and my mother is 80. Now, my mother had a heart attack when she was 80, and things started to change for her pretty rapidly. But it's Christmas time, and we're all sitting around, and we're sitting around with Bill's family. I loved Bill's mom. She was an angel that walked this earth, and my mom loved her too. And so my mom is sitting right next to Beth, and it's Christmas time, and we're all having a good time. And right out of nowhere, my mother says to Beth, "I so wish I would have been a better mother. I don't know why I hit my daughter. I don't know why I spanked my daughter. I don't know why I didn't protect her from all that abuse. I should have been a better mother." My jaw hit the floor. Mom had never said those things before in her entire life. I never even thought those thoughts were ever in her head. Everything that I'd been waiting for her to say, she was saying, and I was 50 years old, but she wasn't saying those things to me. She was saying those things to Bill's mom. I went in the kitchen. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't catch my breath. I just doubled over and I cried and I cried. I came back out and my mom was eating pecan pie with whipped cream, her favorite. And she grabbed my hand and she said, "Merry Christmas, honey. Merry Christmas." From that day on, my mother and I never, ever had a blow up. We never had a fight. We never had one cross word. And what I could do from that day forward is I could tell my mom what a wonderful mother she was, because in her admitting some of the things that went so terribly wrong when I was growing up, it cleared the way for me to see the wonderful things that she did for me when I was little, when I was growing up. The encouragement to love music, to take piano lessons that she paid for. Just the love of humanity my mother gave me. The opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is indifference. And in an estrangement, if you're thinking about your child, chances are your child is thinking about you. Only 20% of estrangements are successful. So 80% of the time, the child will pick up the phone or write a letter, or you will. But you will reconcile. And just because you reconcile, just because you send a card and they maybe send a card back or you get a call, that doesn't mean that you're committed to anything. It doesn't mean you're going to have a big, huge relationship. It means that you can define the relationship any way that works for both of you. But if your child has something they need for you to acknowledge, if your child has something from you they need to hear, give it to them. Think long and hard. Give it to them, and vice versa. but you are the parent. And in the end, you'll do the right thing because chances are you always have. December is a very magical time for me, but it's also bittersweet. It's the month that my mother died. And 12 years ago, before my mother died, we were talking about our favorite Christmas memory. And this is so strange, but today I watched a video from a friend of mine. I knew she was starting like a new channel, but I had no idea that her first video was going to be asking everybody what is their favorite Christmas memory. I about died when I saw. I will link Carla's channel down below in the video I'm talking about. It's great.
I wasn't there that morning when my grandfather passed away. I didn't get to tell him all of the things I had to say.
After my grandfather died, I was so lost and I just drifted, and it was just me and my mom. Everything that I'd come to love was taken away. And I was troubled. And at 15, I've mentioned before, I had a child. My high school sweetheart and I, we wanted to keep the baby, but we were too young. So what did I do when I was 16 years old? I moved out of the house. I got a job as a waitress, and I got a little apartment on the hill by downtown where I worked. I was a big boy waitress, and I was 16. Oh boy, I had the world by the tail, didn't I? Well, it's Christmas Eve day, and there's a storm coming up. Well, I don't have a car. I don't have any money. I don't even have any boots. So I lived a couple miles from where I worked. So I set out walking through the snow to get home to my little dingy apartment, and it was dingy. But the snow was coming real fast, and the wind was blowing like I'd never seen it before. The sky, I remember when I looked up, I remember this like it was yesterday. The sky was gray. Instead of that beautiful blue with the stars, it was like everything was gray. I was scared. My feet were so cold. And I just kept walking, and I thought, it's Christmas Eve. And I thought, I wonder if my mom is alone, like I'm alone tonight. But I kept walking. I thought, oh, I want to make it home. I hope I make it home. I was just so lost and so empty. Well, in 1971, there were phone booths. So I'm walking, and there's a phone booth, and the light is shining on this big, huge phone. And I went into that phone booth. I closed the door, and I called my mom. I had not talked to my mom in 4 or 5 months. I thought she'd hang up on me. The last thing that she said to me was, don't ever talk to me. But I took a chance. So I called. And she answered the phone. And I said, hey, Mama, Merry Christmas. And she just gasped, and she started to cry. She said, Susie, Merry Christmas, where are you? And I said, I'm in a phone booth, and I'm on Wealthy and Fuller. And at that time, that was a pretty rough part of town. And she said, oh, my Lord, what are you doing there? Come on home. It's Christmas. And I said, Mom, I don't think I can make it. It's too far for me to walk, but I wanted to say Merry Christmas to you. I love you, Mom. And she said, now I want you to hang up. You got enough money for another call? I hope so, because I need you to call a cab. You call a cab. You have them pick you up. You have them drive you here. I will be on the steps waiting for you. I will pay for that cab. You come home. You come home to me for Christmas. that okay? And you know what? My very favorite Christmas memory is that cab came in no time flat. And it was warm, and I'm driving down Fuller Street to Beechwood. And we're approaching the house, and I'm so scared and I'm so nervous, and I'm thinking to myself, maybe she changed her mind. And I look out the window, and there's my mom in her nightgown with her black coat over her nightgown, and she's pulling money out of her pocket for the cab driver. He wouldn't even take her money. And I hugged her so hard. And we had the best Christmas Eve I have ever had.
It was a magical Christmas. Mom and I were alone, but we had each other. We stayed up all night. We ate cookies, and she had gifts for me. Warm socks and pajamas. And all I had for her was me. And she said that would be more than enough to last her a lifetime.
Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Woo! Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey everybody, thank you so much for hanging out with us today. I loved every second of it. I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you get a chance down below, could you share one of your favorite Christmas memories? That would just mean the world to me. Please have yourself a wonderful, happy, safe, brand new Christmas week. And when you're done with your week, you come back and see me and Desi, okay? All right. It's a deal. We'll be here.
With great love, the smallest distance is too great, and the greatest distance can always be bridged. I didn't get to tell him all the things I had to say. But I think I caught his spirit later in my life, and I'm sure I heard his echo in my baby's newborn tears. I just wish I could have told him in the living years.